Good day everyone, it's me again, Sandra Panyo, your Mac Tutorial. Today we are gonna be tackling about designing tasks to measure second language grammatical ability. We'll be focusing on how this test development begin. Creating effective grammar tests requires a systematic approach. This involves clearly defining the test purpose and the real-world context where the language will be used or the target language use or tell you situation. We must then identify specific tasks within the context or value tasks and the grammatical skills constructs to be assessed. Test authenticity, the similarity between tests and the real-world language use is crucial for ensuring valid results. Defining the purpose and target language use domain. We have tell you situation and tell you task. First, let's discuss what is tell you situation. The target language use tell you situation defines the context in which the task takers will use the target language. The target language use tell you situations refers to the specific context or environment in which the language will be used. Essentially, it's where the language is applied in real world scenarios. For example, a tell-you situation could be a flight school, a chemical engineering class, or a social studies class. Tell-you tasks or the tell-you tasks are the specific activities that task takers might encounter in the tell-you situation. This task requires language to achieve a communicative goal. These are specific activities or assignments that individuals might encounter within the tell-you situation. They require the use of language to achieve a particular goal or outcome. Examples include answering questions about flight controls, writing a lab report, or participating in a group discussion. Another example for tell-you situation and tell-you task is to assess a Saudi Air Force Academy student's English proficiency for flight school. A test focusing on helicopter flight training was administered. The test evaluated the student's ability to use conditional sentences and future tense to explain cause and effect relationship in flight control. What happened if you mistakenly move the salary to the left? So the student's performance determined the readiness for flight school, a high-stake decision with significant safety and resource implications. This testing approach exemplifies task-based language use value assessment, where the task mirror real-world situations. Understanding value task characteristic is crucial for designing effective tasks that accurately reflect the demands of the target language use context. Test authenticity refers to the correspondence between the features of language use tasks and those of tasks. The more authentic the tasks are, the more confident we can be that the inferences we make from the test scores will generalize to those tell you domain. Test authenticity refers to the degree to which tasks mirror real-world language use tasks. A highly authentic task uses tasks similar to those encountered in the target language use or tell you situation. The greater the correspondence between the test and the real-world task, the more confident we can be that the test results accurately predict performance in actual situation. This is because authentic tests increase the generalizability of the test scores, meaning the inferences made from the test are likely to hold true outside the testing environment. When creating grammar assessments, the process begins by defining the tell context to ensure tests accurately reflect the language demands of that specific situation. So before creating a grammar assessment, we must define the purpose, the specific grammatical skills to be measured or construct, and the real world or instructional context, situational domain. Where we want to apply the test results. The process of defining constructs for tests is called construct definition. Construct definition. So this definition can derive from an overarching theory or grammatical knowledge, a course syllabus, a language textbook, or a set of a course objectives. Construct validity. Construct validity refers to the extent to which a test measures the underlying contract's claims to measure. So it means a test is only valid if it accurately measures what it intends to measure. The test underlying constructs refers to the concepts or theories the test aims to assess. A test with high construct validity accurately reflects the theoretical concept it designs to evaluate. To investigate contract validity, we need to provide empirical evidence that justifies both the claims we make about the examinee's know and the inferences we wish to make from the test score. So these sections describe how to determine contract validity. It's not enough to simply claim a test measures something. You need a real-world data or the empirical evidence to support this claim. This evidence must show that the test results accurately reflect what the test takers actually know and that any conclusion drawn from the score are valid. This involves rigorous testing and analysis to ensure the test accuracy and reliability. So in this table 5.1, it outlines the initial steps in developing tests using a lab report. As an example, so it's break down the process into four concepts, defining the test purpose and the scope. So it involves clarifying the test objectives or measuring the student's ability to communicate grammatically in chemistry lab context. How the result will be used, or you will be determining areas for further instruction and the potential impact on the students on the midterm grade or the diagnostic feedback. Second is identifying the target language used domain. So this step specifies the context in which the language skills will be assessed. English for engineering or specifically the chemical engineering part. Third is selecting relevant language use tests. So a range test representative of the target domain is identified. Like reading instructions, comparing properties of gases, then writing lab reports, and hypothesizing outcomes. From this range, specific tests for the test are selected. 4 is designing the construct to be measured. These crucial steps define the specific grammatical knowledge and skills the constructs that the test will assess. It clarifies what test takers need to know and be able to do successfully, then complete the chosen task. This is done by identifying the grammatical knowledge, meaning, and forms needed to accomplish each task. So understanding prompts, writing grammatical accurate and meaningful responses using non-compounding, active, passive voice, logical connectors, and models of logical improbability. This ensures that test directly measures the intended grammatical ability within the defined context. So in this figure 5.1, it shows what aspect of grammar a test should cover to assess students' ability to write a lab report. So it divides the grammar into three main areas. First is we have the grammatical for accuracy. So this focuses on the correct structures of grammar, including the things like word formation, sentence structures, and punctuation. The charts indicate which elements grammatically form will be measured, checked, and which are not applicable or NA. Grammatical meaning or meaningless. So this looks at whether the grammar used makes senses and conveys the intended measure or the intended meaning. So this include aspects like word meaning or how words relate to each other in a sentence and the overall coherence of the text. Again, the chart shows what will be measured. Pragmatic knowledge, appropriateness. So this is about using grammar appropriately for the specific context. A lab report in this case, so it considers factors like formality, the overall style and the tone, and whether the language is suitable for the audience and purpose. So the chart shows what aspect of pragmatic knowledge will be assessed. The chart helped ensure the test comprehensively assesses the student's grammatical ability in the context of writing a lab report, not just isolated grammar rules. Defining what constitutes grammatical ability for a test is straightforward when teaching materials like textbooks or syllabi. Clearly defined grammatical constructs. So, however, in less structured language use contexts like social studies class or children at plays or hospital settings, defining grammatical ability becomes more complex and need analysis is required to identify the specific grammatical features needed for effective communication and those contexts. So this involve recollecting and analyzing language samples from the target situation, like a lab reports conversation, to determine the necessary grammatical elements like verb tenses, connectors, sentence structures, and grammatic elements appropriately thrown or organization. We have the operationalization. So the process of designing tasks assesses concrete samples of performance to reflect the underlying claims about the constructs and the process of deciding how to measure or score the responses. This is about clearly planning how you measure something. So you design tasks to get clear examples and how people do something so you can accurately judge their performance and whether it matches what you expected. Operationalization involves specifying the characteristic and individual test tasks, including the instructions, time allotment, input, expected response, and scoring method. This focuses on the details of those tasks. It means clearly defining every aspect of the test, like the instructions, how much time people get when they need to do, and what a good answers look like, and how to score their answers. This process ensures that the tasks are designed to elicit the necessary evidence to support the claims about the contract. So this emphasizes that the goal of all careful planning is to make sure you gather the right information to provide or disprove your ideas about what you're testing. So in this table 5.2, it details the next step in creating a lab report. Writing tests, so it's focusing on how to define what constitutes a good answer and how to score it. It breaks down the process of three main steps. We have the identifying evidence of grammatical ability. So these steps clarify kinds of evidence and the students' responses would support the claims about the grammatical knowledge or more correct use of verbs, verb tenses, or logical connectors and appropriate vocabulary, and determining the amount of evidence needed. So on this step establish much evidence is required to demonstrate different levels of grammatical ability, and operationalizing test tasks and scoring. So this involves specifying practical details of the test task, instructions, times limits, expected response, formats, and the scoring method. An initial step in operationalization of test contract is the specification of a test task. This is the process of identifying and describing the characteristic of individual test tasks, making a test involve carefully describing each questions or task, and it's also a process of comparing how target language use tests and test tasks compare. So you also need to make sure that the test questions are similar to the kinds of things people actually do with a language in a real life. In conclusion, developing a grammar test involves a multi-step process, defining the purpose and context or the target situation and task, identifying the grammatical constructs to be measured, operationalizing the test task, specifying question and scoring, and ensuring contract validity that the test accurately measures what it aims to measure. This systematic approach leads to reliable, valid, and authentic assessment of grammatical ability. That's all. Thank you.